At Grace Fieldhouse, a woman the children call Mom smiles, surrounded by their hugs. But for Emma, this perfect image is a lie. Mom is not her mother, and the children she lives with are not her siblings. This grand, ornate building is Grace Fieldhouse, an orphanage. Emma, number 63194, is an orphan, or so she thought. Every morning at 6, a bell rings, stirring the many children of Grace Fieldhouse into a flurry of activity. Emma, energetic and always eager, helps the younger ones get ready for breakfast. She's lived here for 10 years, alongside dozens of other children of varying ages and backgrounds. Despite not being related by blood, they are a family. Emma, Norman, and Ray are the oldest, all 11 years old. Mom praises Emma for her deep care for her family, a sentiment Emma cherishes. Their daily life is simple: delicious food, warm beds, white uniforms, and ID numbers on their necks. Every day, they take a test, answering complex questions within 10 seconds. These tests, Mom says, are for their future. Emma, Norman, and Ray consistently achieve perfect scores, making Mom incredibly proud. After tests, they play in the vast forest surrounding the orphanage, a place they know intimately. Ray, however, prefers to read, leaning against a tree. There are two forbidden places: the gate to the outside world and beyond the fence in the forest. It's a rule they must obey, and they've never been outside. Once, Emma, Norman, and Ray secretly visited the gate. It was closed, like an abandoned building, and Norman wondered what it was protecting them from. Ray found it boring, but Emma felt a strange creepiness beyond the bars. The children often dream of the outside world, imagining trains, new clothes, and exciting adventures. Norman is exceptionally good at tag, using strategy and analysis like a game of chess. Emma, with her outstanding motor skills, and Ray, equally smart and resourceful, are also considered exceptional. The other children jokingly call them monsters, marveling at their intelligence. Their lives at Grace Fieldhouse are not forever. Children are assigned foster homes and leave before they turn 12. Today is Connie's last day. She's excited, wearing new clothes and clutching her beloved stuffed bunny, Little Bunny, a treasure Mom made just for her. Connie, who isn't as good at tests, dreams of becoming a mother like Mom. Emma feels a pang of sadness, knowing she'll miss Connie. Mom walks Connie to the door, waving goodbye. But soon after, Emma finds Little Bunny left behind on a dining room table. Connie, who cherished it so much, forgot her treasure. Ray, looking out a window, notes that the gate lights are still on and Mom hasn't returned. Norman suggests they deliver it to Connie themselves. Emma agrees, knowing Connie would be happier to get it sooner. The back door is locked, but Norman, a genius, easily picks the lock. He tells Emma they can get in trouble together later. They run through the night towards the gate. A large truck is parked there, its gate open. Emma is excited, having never seen a real truck before. She decides to leave Little Bunny in the back of the truck, hoping Connie will find it. As Emma approaches the truck, she sees something inside. Her eyes widen in horror. Norman calls her name, seeing her reaction. Connie is there, lying dead in the back of the truck. A single rose sticks out of her chest. Emma and Norman stare, utterly shocked. A sound from a nearby building startles them. Voices ask if someone is there. They quickly hide under the truck. Two monstrous figures emerge from the building. They are huge, with multiple eyes and sharp claws. One, a stout monster, says Connie looks delicious. The tall monster holds Connie's body, its long tongue extended. Emma is terrified. Norman asks if they killed Connie. The stout monster declares, "Human flesh is the best." Emma and Norman are speechless, realizing these are demons. They remember Mom's rule, never go to the gate or beyond the fence because it's dangerous. The tall monster complains he wishes he could have a fingertip, but Connie is valuable merchandise. The stout monster explains that the human flesh produced by this farm is high-quality meat meant for the rich. Emma sees a jar containing a human-like figure with the number 63194 on its neck. Her own number. The children of Grace Fieldhouse are not orphans, they are livestock. This orphanage is a farm, and they are meat. The monsters discuss the Gupna ceremony and how they are only shipping out normal ones lately. But soon, they will harvest extra high-grade ones. The stout monster holds a clipboard listing the top 3 children by their ID numbers and perfect scores. Norman, 22194, Ray, 81194, and Emma, 63194. They are to be prepared for plucking. Mom responds, yes, she is complicit. Emma and Norman flee, running back to the house in terror. Emma trips, gasping for breath. She asks Norman if the girl in the truck wasn't Connie. Norman confirms it was. Emma breaks down, crying hysterically. As they approach the house, Ray is waiting for them, holding a lantern. He asks how it went. Norman, his face grim, replies, "We didn't make it." Meanwhile, the tall monster finds little Bunny under the truck. Mom tells him to get rid of it. One fact has overturned their entire perception of reality. This place is a farm, and Emma is food. Norman tells a distraught Emma they have to escape. Emma cries. She doesn't want any more of her family to die. She can't leave them. Norman smiles, reassuring her. They will all escape together. Emma, determined, vows to stop crying. She realizes they can't rely on any adults. She must think, strategize, like a game of tag. She needs to find a way for all of them to survive. The memory replays in Emma's mind. Connie, walking away towards the gate, her innocent laughter echoing. The true colors of reality have been laid bare. This place is a farm, and they are the livestock. Humans raised as food for demons to consume. They're going to kill them. But Emma refuses to let that happen. They will escape. The next morning, the orphanage hums with its usual routine. Children carry plates, Mom smiles, and Norman greets Emma as if nothing has changed. But it wasn't a dream. Norman reminds Emma they must act like nothing happened. They can't reveal what they know, or their plan to escape. The bunny plush they left behind at the gate could be a clue for Mom. They must find their own way out. Emma, Norman, and Ray gather under a tree, observing the other children. Emma reveals a new observation. The lattice windows in the house are bolted down, too high to reach. The screw holes are damaged, as if someone tried to remove them. This place is a cage. They realize all aspects of their regulated lives, the white clothes, the delicious food, the strict schedule, are designed to maintain their quality as merchandise. Even the daily tests, they prepare them for the plucking of their brains, especially those who get full marks. Ray notes that recently, only 6-year-olds are being shipped. Norman points out that education isn't necessary for food. It would be risky for the demons. Ray speculates that their ages and scores might relate to the grade of the meat. They realize they know nothing about the outside world. This cage is an anachronistic, fake world. No TVs, no radios, despite it being the mid-21st century. All they know is what the demons have prepared and arranged for them. They must organize their knowledge and act before Mom does. The next shipment, based on past cycles, could be 2 months away. They need to escape before then. Norman draws a simple map in the dirt, the house in the middle, the gate, and the encircling forest. The gate is always closed, except during shipping when demons are present. Escaping during a shipment is too dangerous. They consider escaping at night, but the younger children might not stay awake. Ray suggests playtime during the day, when they can move freely outside. Emma decides they will escape during the day, through the forest. Norman agrees, but emphasizes they need to know what lies beyond the forest. They head into the woods, Emma running with determination, Norman walking beside her, his hands clasped. His hands are shaking. Mom is the only mother they've ever known. How horrifying. Mom has never revealed anything, always maintaining a peaceful smile. Behind that smile, how many children has she led to their deaths? Mom is the enemy, a cold-hearted minion of the demons. But Emma still wonders, why was Mom so kind to them? They reach the edge of the forest. Before them stands a massive, tall wall. Emma jumps, trying to reach the top, but it's too high. It's about 2 to 3 meters thick, hard, and sturdy. No rough edges, no seams, a smooth surface. Impossible to climb. Norman observes there are no guards, and it's quiet. He believes this is what they're supposed to see, to make them give up. But Emma is confident. With a rope, they could climb it. The only one watching them is Mom. Norman realizes this farm wasn't built on the assumption that the kids might run away. It's supposed to be an orphanage, so the only obstacle is the wall. They can get over this wall as long as they have some rope. It's not impossible. They rush back towards the orphanage, determined that they can all escape. Suddenly, Mom rings the large bell, gathering all the children. Dawn notices 2 children are missing. Emma and Norman arrive, breathless, just as Mom calls out for Mark. Mark is crying, distraught. He lost Nyla in the forest. Mom looks up at the setting sun. It's going to get dark soon. She reassures Mark, telling everyone to stay put. Then, she walks into the forest alone. Mom returns almost immediately, carrying a sleeping Nyla. She explains Nyla got tired and fell asleep, completely unharmed. The other children are relieved. But Norman is surprised. It was too fast. It's like Mom knew exactly where Nyla was. She always knew where they were during games of tag. Ray looks intently at Mom's hand. It wasn't a watch. There are tracking devices. Norman realizes they could be implanted somewhere in their bodies. If that's the case, an escape is impossible. They are finished as soon as Mom knows of their plan. Mom knows. She showed them on purpose, so they would figure it out. She knows that little Bunny was brought to the gate by someone other than Connie. This is a declaration of war. Mom's gentle smile hides a chilling message. No matter who it is, she won't let them escape. Emma still held onto a desperate belief that Mom was human, that she loved them, but the truth was a declaration of war. The kind Mom was a lie, a performance, to feed them to the demons. Mom was not human. She was a demon. The orphanage, a seemingly idyllic home, was a farm, a place where children were raised as livestock. Emma and Norman knew they had 2 months. 2 months to figure out an escape for everyone. The tracking devices were a major obstacle. Emma couldn't believe Mom would go that far. They overheard the demons talking about the human flesh produced at the farms as high-quality meat. Norman wondered what made them so valuable. The key, they realized, was their age and their test scores. 6-year-olds were normal-grade meat. All the siblings shipped out were between 6 and 12 years old. If 6 was normal, then 12 was the highest quality. And the scores? Unless they got full marks, their scores were never announced. They were withheld from harvest because they consistently got perfect scores. The demons wanted those who excelled. But why? Why age and scores? It wasn't about body size or weight. Then Norman realized. Their brains. A human brain develops to 90% by age 6 and 100% by 12. The demons were after human brains. The more developed, the better it tasted. Emma was horrified. They eat brains? Ray confirmed it. They were valuable merchandise. First, they needed a rope. Norman already knew where to look. Emma worried about cameras or listening devices. Norman reassured her. He'd searched the house last night. No hidden surveillance. The security was on them, not the building. Ray asked if Mom knew they'd gone to the wall. Norman wondered. She didn't know last night, which meant Mom couldn't always know their location. She could only tell when she actively checked the device. If she checked their movements last night and today, then she knew. She knew they went to the gate. She knew they found out about the demons, and she knew they were planning to escape. But Norman believed she hadn't figured out who was there last night. Otherwise, she would have threatened them directly. For now, they had to act like nothing had happened. Emma tried to project confidence. They would outwit Mom. They would break out. Suddenly, Mom was there. Her voice was gentle. "What's wrong, Emma? You look pale. You weren't as cheerful this morning." Emma's heart pounded. Was this a bluff? Did Mom know? Mom's hand touched Emma's chin. She was checking her reaction. This was the real Mom. The one who loved them. The one who would feed them to demons. Emma clenched her uniform. She wanted to scream, but she forced a smile. "It's nothing. I just got a little sad thinking that I'm going to leave the house soon." She couldn't back down. If she did, Mom would attack. Emma hugged Mom tightly. "I love the house and you, Mom." She even mentioned Connie. "Did you know? Connie said she wanted to be a mother like you when she grew up." Mom's smile never wavered. Not a single crack in her facade. She was completely impregnable. Emma felt a cold sweat. She had to keep smiling. If she lost here, everyone would die. Ray called them for dinner. Emma thought she had gotten through it. Then Mom spoke again. "Did the two of you go to the gate yesterday?" Emma and Norman quickly denied it. They feigned innocence, talking about playing tag. Mom smiled. "Never mind, as long as you didn't go." Emma felt a wave of relief, but the relief was short-lived. Mom was investigating. The tracking device didn't specify individuals. She still didn't know who. Mom walked away, thinking. She had checked all day. No child had reacted noticeably, but she would know soon, no matter how much they tried to hide it. Emma and Norman knew their time was running out. Less than 2 months. They had to find that rope. They would break out before she realized their plan. They would all survive. Mom looked out the window. Her smile was chilling. She would not let anyone escape. She was the one who would survive. A number was visible on her neck, 204. The game had truly begun, and the stakes were life or death. Dinner was ready. The children ran to the dining room. Emma and Norman followed. They thought they had survived the interrogation. But Mom had one more question. Emma quickly responded, feigning innocence. Norman echoed her denial. Mom smiled, walking away. Emma felt her heart restart. Mom was pushing them. She knew her target was 2 kids. She was investigating. But she still didn't know who. Mom walked away, reflecting. She had checked all day, and no child had reacted. Emma's pulse was normal even when talking about Connie. She would know soon. Emma and Norman knew they had less than 2 months. They had to find the rope. Norman had already found a likely spot. Mom looked out at the world beyond the orphanage. The search for escape tools begins in the orphanage's forbidden storage room. Norman and Emma slip inside, hoping to find something they can use as rope. Meanwhile, Ray sits under a tree, observing the orphanage grounds, while Mom walks away with some of the younger children. He fiddles with a small device, lost in thought. Emma and Norman realize there might not be any actual rope, as it's not something they'd typically need. But Norman quickly spots an alternative. They find a stack of tablecloths, which Emma excitedly declares can be their rope. With this, they believe they can scale the wall. Norman reminds her the harder challenges remain, the tracking devices and getting everyone out. Emma suggests they tell Ray everything. She believes he wouldn't panic, and his knowledge of machines would be a huge asset. Norman agrees, recognizing Ray's cool-headed and precise thinking. He decides to talk to Ray alone, but as they approach, Ray is already there. He reveals he followed them. He demands to know what happened at the gate, having noticed their strange behavior and empty hands. Emma, impressed by his sharp deduction, asks for his help. Ray agrees, saying they all have to escape. Emma and Norman then explain the horrifying truth. Mom walks away from the orphanage, unaware of the conversation unfolding. Ray's reaction is one of shock and immediate comprehension. Demons. A farm. Mom is the enemy. He quickly connects the dots, understanding the purpose of the grated windows. Ray believes them without question, stating Norman wouldn't invent such a ridiculous lie. He immediately identifies the biggest problem, the sheer number of children. Emma declares her intention to take everyone, regardless of the difficulty. Ray looks at her, incredulous. He tells her it's impossible. He points out that most of the 37 children are under 6, making a mass escape with Mom, demons, and tracking devices an insurmountable challenge. Emma insists it's not impossible. Ray firmly states, no, it's impossible. He realizes Norman had already considered this, which is why he wanted to talk to Ray alone. Norman had kept the full, harsh reality from Emma. Ray explains that escaping isn't enough. They don't know what awaits them outside. The existence of the farm implies a terrifying truth. What waits outside is a demon's world. Emma and Norman are stunned. Ray concludes that if they take everyone, they will all die. The best option, he states, is to leave the younger children behind. Emma's response is immediate. No. She looks at Ray with fierce determination. Even if it's impossible, she wants everyone to escape. She refuses to let anyone else end up like Connie. Norman supports her, adding that if there's no place for humans, they will make one on the outside. Emma declares they will change the world. Ray is shocked by their idealism. Norman confirms, this is the kind of escape they're aiming for. Emma states she is not bending on this. Norman tells Ray he understands his logical perspective. Ray is confused by Norman's sudden shift. Emma grabs Ray, demanding his help. Ray, frustrated, asks Norman to talk sense into her. Norman explains that Emma's tears weren't out of fear for herself. She never cries. Norman admits he was scared of dying, but Emma was scared of her family dying. She's amazing, Norman says. Ray still argues it's foolish, like trying to make a boat out of mud. He states that if it were just the three of them, they could escape. Norman then tells Ray he also wants to make a boat out of mud. Ray is surprised, asking why. Norman confesses his feelings for Emma. He wants her to always be smiling. Ray calls him crazy. Norman declares he will use himself to accomplish this impossible feat. He reminds Ray that he's always managed to accomplish what he sets out to do. Ray, despite his anger, considers Norman's words. He admits that a boat made of mud might not necessarily sink. Norman presses him, asking if he can truly let them go through with this alone. Ray curses, knowing he cannot. Mom, checking her pocket watch, remains oblivious to their plans. The trio examines a book on mechanical engineering and human history. They notice its publication year, 2015. This means that up until 2015, the world was still a place where books could be published. The current year is 2045. What happened in those 30 years? Ray, now fully committed, states they will win this gamble. It's only been 30 years, so a human society outside is still possible. They resolve to learn about the outside, understand their enemy, devise a strategy, and survive. The three children stand united, facing an uncertain and terrifying future. The world map they found was dated 2010. It was a stark reminder of how little they knew. They didn't even know where their own house was located on it. Just that outside, there were demons. Ray, ever the pragmatist, deduced they were in the northern hemisphere, mid-latitudes, based on the sun and seasons. But the bigger question remained, how many demons, and what kind of power did they wield? Emma's resolve burned bright. She wanted the power to protect everyone. The children were already at work, gathering rope, checking the fence perimeter, searching for hidden cameras or bugs. So far, things were running smoothly. Then Mom appeared. She called Emma, Norman, Ray, and even Dawn and Gilda. She asked them to help with some chores. It was the third day in a row. A wave of worry washed over the trio. Did Mom suspect them? Ray tried to calm Emma, explaining it was natural for Mom to suspect the oldest children. Norman agreed, believing Mom didn't know their plans yet, but they had to be more vigilant. Emma understood. Mom wanted them to panic. She admired Norman and Ray's strategic minds, their observation, their ability to read the enemy. She wanted to be like them, to catch up, to gain that power. Ray found the constant chores annoying, but Emma's determination to save everyone pushed them forward. They continued with the chores, organizing the pantry, inspecting linen, cleaning vacant rooms. Ray realized the tasks were meaningless, designed to limit their free time. Norman wondered if it was a ploy to make them impatient, to force a mistake. Emma was glad they had already stolen the tablecloths, a key part of their escape plan. Meanwhile, Dawn grew frustrated, yelling about wanting to play, wondering if it was punishment. Norman had to pull him aside, asking for help, while Ray walked away, shushing Norman. They knew they had to deal with the tracking devices. Emma had searched her body, her clothes, her shoes. No scars. Nothing implanted. How? Ray explained the basics of radio wave tracking devices, based on humankind's existing technology. But those required batteries, and didn't last long. Even in 2015, such small, long-lasting implants were fiction. This meant predicting the mechanism, location, and how to break it would be incredibly difficult. It was likely demon technology. Emma despaired, wishing for an X-ray. Norman refused to give up. Even without knowing the mechanism, they could anticipate. There had to be a way to deal with the trackers. Ray urged them to think like the enemy. What kind of device? Where implanted? How controlled? With only Mom to maneuver, escape was still possible, but the trackers remained the biggest obstacle. Where were they? What kind? How to break them? They needed more information. Mom watched the children play, a slight smile on her face. She wondered if Emma's confidence came from knowing they were stuck. The trio discussed Mom's strategy again. Her plan should be to make them impatient, to reveal their hand, but her approach felt too soft, too roundabout. Norman couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Ray pointed out the lack of urgency from Mom to find her targets. Emma agreed. Norman concluded Mom only had suspicions, forcing her to remain cautious. But Emma still felt uneasy. Mom should want to identify and deal with her targets immediately. What exactly was Mom thinking? She was their mother, but she was also their teacher. A game of chess was set up. Mom invited them to play, all three against her. She even allowed them to discuss their moves. She had raised them, taught them everything. Norman still felt a nagging worry. Mom was more. Dawn, still frustrated with chores, yelled at the other children to work harder. Emma apologized, hurrying to finish. Phil and Mark approached Mom, asking when Emma and the others could play again. Mom smiled gently. She told them not to worry. The chores would end today. The trio froze. Mom had gotten them. Sister Crone stood beside Mom, smiling. Mom introduced a new baby, Carol, and then the bombshell. This was Sister Crone. She was here to help Mom with her duties. Emma was shocked. Ray realized a second adult and a new baby, earlier than usual. All the chores, the monitoring, the perceived softness. It was all a diversion, a way to buy time. To prepare for this, they hadn't revealed anything. They had read Mom's moves. But Mom had gone further. She had moved them like pawns, driven them into a corner. She smiled, moving a chess piece. Checkmate. The children were stunned. Mom's answer was simple, chilling. Because I'm your mom. Sister Crone affirmed her new role, her smile unwavering. She would be living there, starting today. And behind her, just barely visible in the shadows, loomed the figures of the tall monster and the stout monster. The orphanage welcomes a new, tiny resident, baby Carol. And with her, a new adult joins the staff, Sister Crone. Mom introduces Sister Crone to all the children, who are excited about another sibling and a new caretaker. But Ray sees only another obstacle. A second set of eyes watching them, a subordinate to Mom, or worse, a minion of the demons. Mom is no longer their only enemy. Norman whispers to Emma that with 16 children under 3 years old, their escape has become even more difficult. Mom watches the children play, then tells them she needs to speak with Sister Crone first. Sister Crone is given a room on the second floor, right in the center of the children's rooms. Emma clenches her fist. It's a terrible spot for a new enemy. Norman observes Mom and Sister Crone inspecting the spare linen. He realizes they played right into Mom's hands, preparing for another enemy without even knowing it. Ray argues there was no way to prevent it, but Norman insists Mom had been dangling clues in front of them all along. He should have read her moves. He was outmaneuvered. He lost to Mom. He was naive. He underestimated her. They are still children in the palm of her hand, and beyond that hand awaits certain death. It all comes down to Mom. Unless they surpass her, there's no escape. Norman suggests that perhaps making them depressed was Mom's goal. Ray challenges him, claiming superior strategy, and tells him to give up. Norman counters that if Mom dangled hints, it was to show off her power. Ray then shifts his perspective. Crying would only satisfy the enemy. He points out that Sister Krona's arrival means more sources of information. Emma is surprised by this new angle. Ray concludes that the situation isn't entirely bad. They will win in the end. Emma, now determined, declares this isn't over. She raises her hand in triumph. Meanwhile, the other children play, happy to have Emma back. Dawn searches for Emma, but only finds Gilda and other children. Gilda expresses disappointment that she hasn't played with Emma in a while. Emma, Norman, and Ray continue their discussion. They wonder where Carol and Sister Crone came from. Norman deduces that Carol is replacing Connie, meaning they are replenishing the merchandise. Ray theorizes that if this place is a farm, there must be a base where one-year-olds are created or kidnapped to supply the farms. A base to supply human livestock. This implies that all of them, including Carol, came from this base, as did Sister Crone. Norman notes the significance of another adult being present. They question if the children are born under demon control or captured from human society. There could be other farms, all linked to this central base. How they survive after escape depends on these answers. Solving the mystery of the outside world is key. The new sibling, Carol, is also significant. While other children might not have marks, Carol, having just arrived, might bear a scar from where a tracking device was implanted. Emma lists their 3 current objectives. First, the adults are the key to understanding the outside. Second, Carol might provide a clue about the tracking devices. And third, there's something wrong with Mom's current actions. Ray is confused. He doesn't understand what Emma means. Ray explains that Mom purposely showed them things to make them nervous. Emma agrees it's suspicious. Mom did it with the tracking device, and she's doing it again now. Ray argues that if Mom already knows, she should just ship them out immediately. Emma agrees, but Mom isn't doing that. Norman believes there's a reason, an objective behind Mom's actions. Emma asks what kind of objective. Ray doesn't know, but Norman states that this unknown objective is why they can't figure out Mom's strategy. Ray urges Emma to understand. They don't know when Mom will strike. They must escape as soon as possible. Emma is resolute. She won't let an opportunity slip away. Ray notes they won't be able to get near Carol. Emma smiles confidently. She will get the clues about the tracking devices from Carol. All of them will get out of the farm alive. She will not lose to the demons, and not to the 2 adults. Sister Krona, with a knowing smile, expresses gratitude for the opportunity to return to this side. Mom, stern, states she only requested an assistant. She didn't specifically call for Sister Crone. Sister Krona praises Mom's achievements, her reputation for raising the most high-grade goods. Mom dismisses the flattery. She hands Sister Crone information on the children, ordering her to memorize it immediately. It should be easier than getting perfect scores on their morning tests. Sister Krona, smirking, asks why she was called in. Mom reveals the truth. 2 children found out the secret. They saw the truck. Sister Krona, shocked, suggests shipping them out immediately, according to the rules. Mom stops her. It won't be necessary. Mom already knows who the targets are. Sister Crone, calculating, notes that these special children are beneficial for the farm. She will not report them. Mom reminds Sister Crone of her place. Mom is the mistress of the house. Sister Crone is merely an assistant, a guard. She will obey Mom's instructions without question. Sister Crone, smirking, complies. The power dynamic is clear. Elsewhere, Emma runs through a dark archway with another child. Isabella's room holds 9 empty cribs, a stark reminder of the children who have left. The youngest, aged 1 to 2, sleep and wake with Isabella, like baby Carol, held gently in her arms. Only the older girls are allowed to help with the nightly routine of bathing and changing the babies. Emma, Ray, and Norman know this restriction makes it impossible for them to get close to Isabella's room without arousing suspicion. Ray insists they must find and break the tracking devices, or escape is impossible. Norman places his trust in Emma, especially if she wants everyone to escape. Emma looks at baby Carol, her resolve hardening. She will find them. Meanwhile, Sister Crone has settled into the orphanage, charming the younger children. Norman and Ray observe her, discussing their next moves while washing dishes. Beyond the tracking devices, they need a plan to get everyone out. Tricking Isabella and Sister Crone isn't enough. They cannot let the adults report anything to the demons. The demons are nearby, Norman realizes. They are assets, high-quality goods, never kept too far from their consumers. The biggest concern is the demons being notified. As soon as they escape, the demons will hunt them down. Ray states there's only one way to stop that. Isabella and Sister Crone will have to be. Suddenly, Sister Crone appears between them, smiling. She compliments their perfect test scores, extending a hand to Norman. Norman shakes her hand, a forced politeness in his expression. Sister Crone expresses her hope to get to know them well. Norman wonders if Isabella truly believes no one discovered the secret, or if Sister Crone overheard their conversation. He concludes they shut up in time. Sister Crone, however, is internally gloating. She never thought the amazing Isabella would make such an easy mistake. By not reporting the children, Isabella is trying to hide her error. This is an opportunity. Sister Crone envisions herself as the next Isabella. She will pretend to obey, then orchestrate Isabella's downfall. She will capture the targets, inform the higher-ups, and secure her promotion. Meanwhile, Emma is desperately searching for the tracking device on baby Carol. There's nothing. No scar, no visible implant. She wonders if Isabella was bluffing, but dismisses the thought. Isabella knew there were two culprits. Emma refuses to give up, holding Carol close. She tells herself, observe, analyze, think like the enemy. Demons wouldn't eat the tracking devices. They must be removed when the children are shipped out. So, it must be in a place easy to access, even as they grow. A sudden thought strikes her. Just then, Gilda approaches, asking Emma about something she wanted to ask her. Gilda comments on how good Emma is with babies, noticing a small mark on Carol's ear. A bug bite? Norman reaches out, touching the baby's ear. He recognizes it. It's a mark from when they took blood for tests. A common practice for babies with thin blood vessels. Emma gasps, remembering Isabella had told her about it long ago. She shouts, she found it. The mark is in everyone's ear. A tiny, almost imperceptible scar from when they took blood as babies. The tracking device is implanted in their ears. Emma touches her own ear, surprised by how small it is. No one would notice it unless they specifically felt a 1-year-old's ear. She feels a wave of despair, wondering what kind of device this is. But Norman calmly reassures her. They are not finished. The next step is to break the implants. Emma's determination returns. They will break them. They will escape. Elsewhere, Isabella conducts a regular check-in. She confirms everything is okay at Plant 3. A voice on the other end, possibly Grandma, questions her. Isabella assures them the 3 can be shipped out as scheduled. The shadowy figure on the other end reveals that other plants were fruitless this year. Only Isabella's plant can provide the supreme goods for the harvest ceremony. Isabella sends a message to the boss. Everything is fine. They can have any child whenever they like. Far away, demons gather around an ornate table. A tall monster holds a flower, speaking of pleasing, unreadable symbol text. The tall monster warns not to mess this up. Unreadable symbol text. His meal is special, unlike their own. He calls for a celebration of the harvest and a prayer for unreadable symbol text.